What is going on, y'all? Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Here in today's video, I'll be discussing John Wall's decision to sign with the Los Angeles Clippers after agreeing to a buyout with the Houston Rockets, which is some pretty exciting news for Clippers fans, in my opinion. You know, I've seen a lot of people kind of downplaying the decision to sign with the Los Angeles Clippers, which I think is a great decision for him. You have two stars around him now with Paul George and Kawhi Leonard, which is incredible. And I think that team is a legit title contender now, and they will give the Warriors a run for their money in the West, as long as, there'll probably be a few other teams who, depending on injury and stuff like that, we know Wall has injury history. It's not the best. He's missed a ton of time over the past 5 years, which is definitely a big hurt for him in his career. But I think that's why a lot of people are underrating him and don't really see the value in John Wall, which I see pretty clearly. And it's also a little bit biased for me because, I was a Wizards fan. I still am a Wizards fan, which is tough, but John Wall had an extremely impressive career in Washington, and that Wizards honestly kind of did him wrong, shipping him away. But now I think this is the best possible scenario for him in Los Angeles with Kawhi, with Paul George. And I really think, like I said before, this team will be a title contender. Now, looking at his highlights most recently with the Rockets, Wall showed he still was very capable of scoring with ease, dishing assists out, rebounding. John Wall could still do it all. On a Rockets team which really didn't have any big name players besides himself. He played 40 games in 2020, the COVID year, and was very good statistically as he scored 20.6 points per game, 6.9 assists per game, and 3.2 rebounds per game, and also adding 1.1 steals and 0.8 blocks per game. As we know, John Wall is a true defender, one of the best defending point guards in the league during his prime, which is definitely not here now, but still a great defender, and he showed that in Houston. This time in Houston was kind of tough for him just because, Houston didn't really want him taking up their younger guys' minutes, which kind of sucks for him because, the Wizards, like I said before, did him wrong in the trade with Russell Westbrook, where they traded Wall and a first-round pick for Russell Westbrook, which got the Wizards really nowhere. I think Beal and Wall were really starting to figure it out later on. If Wall would have been healthy, we would have seen that. But honestly, when the Rockets and Wall it had been reported they were talking about a buyout, I thought the Wizards might try to re-sign Wall and bring it back to Washington, but that would have taken way more work than the Wizards wanted to do. And the Wizards still are without a point guard. But this isn't about the Wizards. This is about John Wall and his career and what's going to happen now. Like I said, I think this is seriously a chance for John Wall to win a ring with the Clippers, which we've all been waiting for to kind of turn up to what they can be with Paul George and Kawhi Leonard. And now you're getting a superstar point guard in John Wall if he can stay healthy, which I believe he will be this year. A lot of people don't like the signing, like I said before, and that's just garbage in my opinion. If you think this is a bad signing for the Clippers, Wall has played extremely exciting in his career, behind the back, between the legs, all that type of stuff. He's always been that type of player, but his finishing, his passing, and his defense has always stood out to everybody. And he can continue to do that throughout his career in the NBA, and I think he'll continue to do it again. Now, Wall's missed a ton of games over the past year and a half due to an agreement between the Rockets and Wall to sit out, as they don't want him taking up, like I said, their younger players' minutes, which is kind of odd. But I don't know. I really like Wall, and I really like this addition for the Clippers, like I've stated multiple times here. I think Wall deserves more an opportunity than he got in Houston. Like, the reports and everything about him with Jalen Green and how he helped out those players was awesome. And a lot of people will say, well, obviously he's going to do that. He's making a ton of money with Houston. But it was just John Wall was a very good veteran and a very good guy to learn from for Jalen Green. I think we'll definitely see Jalen Green's improvements over the years. And some of that help will come from Wall and what Wall taught him in his short time in Houston. Adding John Wall now gives the Clippers at the point guard position, Reggie Jackson and John Wall. John Wall likely will come off the bench early, but nothing would surprise me between the two of them. Both of them would be a very good bench point guard. The shooting guard position, Norman Powell, Luke Kennard. Small forward, Paul George and Robert Covington. Power forward, Kawhi Leonard, Marcus Morris. And at center, Ivica Zubac and Nicholas Batum. So we're really looking at a really, really improved Clippers roster, like I said. And this is before free agency. So don't be shocked if the Clippers go out and try to improve at the center position, or maybe even the power forward position behind Kawhi Leonard. Marcus Morris really hasn't given the Clippers too much in his career there. And I think they could get a better backup in that role, especially behind Kawhi Leonard, where Kawhi Leonard will be on the court for a majority of the time. but when he's off the court, they'll need something more than Marcus Morris, in my opinion, if they want to win the NBA Finals. But there's still a big free agency and a lot that could still happen. They have the pieces to make trades. They're a very good team, and I think the Clippers are going to improve more just from John Wall. After this, something else that was quite frustrating for me as a Wizards fan, which really kind of does relate, it kind of frustrated me, is how Wall always lobbied for the Wizards to make a run at Paul George, whether that was for trade, free agency. Wall always wanted to play with Paul George in Washington, and we never got to see Wall, Beal, and George. I think that would have been an incredible trio. And then you get a decent center like a guy for now, like Gafford, or a guy like Porzingis if they would have got it to 4. That would have been incredible, but we never got to see it, which is pretty unfair to Wizards fans, to say the least, as we all hoped for it for a while and just never, ever made the move or never even came close. There's also been a ton of other stuff like KD maybe coming to Washington and him not even entertaining a meeting with the Wizards. So that just kind of shows you how the Wizards are. But like I was saying, Paul George, John Wall always wanted to play with Paul George in Washington and always begged the Wizards to try to make a move on him or to sign him in free agency, and the Wizards just never did and really never shown much more than interest. I can't even remember really. On Twitter, I think one time I saw the Wizards were interested, but it never got any more than that. There were never talks that I saw. It was never anything like that. So it's kind of unfair to Wall. But now Wall gets his wish. He's going to Los Angeles. He's going to play with Kawhi and Paul George and the rest of that team. And I honestly, like I said at the beginning of this, I know it's kind of getting repetitive, but I honestly think the Clippers are going to be a contender for the finals this year. Kawhi has the experience. Paul George has the playoff experience. And John Wall now gives them a guy, he's been to the Eastern Conference semifinals with the Wizards, where they lost to the Celtics in Game 7, where Wall was incredible for that little span where the Wizards were going to the playoffs every year. Marcin Gortat, Nene, Bradley Beal, young Bradley Beal, Otto Porter. And another thing that I wanted to kind of clarify, people tried to act like John Wall doesn't make players around him better. Look at John Wall's time with the Wizards. Marcin Gortat, I think, really benefited big time and earned a ton of money from John Wall just because John Wall was his point guard. John Wall with insane passes, unexpected passes, shocking the entire defense, and always made players around him better. He earned Otto Porter a ton of money in free agency. So for them to kind of come out and say John Wall didn't make the players around him better, I think he's going to prove this year with the Clippers how much better of a team the Clippers are now with Wall on their roster. And if he can come off the bench, I honestly think he's worthy of starting. But if John Wall can come off the bench, that's exactly what the Clippers could use. A guy scoring 20 points per game in his career, and now coming to the Clippers to come off the bench and probably give them close to that, probably 15 to 20 points per game, 5 to 6 assists and 3 rebounds a game. The Clippers could use that in a big way. And John Wall also can play crunch time minutes. He'll give them a legit ball handler, a legit scorer, and a guy who's going to make the jobs of Paul George and Kawhi Leonard much, much easier in crunch time and throughout the game, just because now that's another threat on the court versus, and this is no disrespect to Reggie Jackson, but John Wall, I think, gives you much more on the court than Reggie Jackson does. John Wall makes the Clippers a contender for the title. Mark that now. If you can bet in your state, put a futures bet on the Clippers to win the NBA Finals next year. Like I said, this might be a little biased because I'm a huge John Wall fan, but I just honestly think this is the best possible outcome for the Clippers here, a point guard where you're getting a proven vet to come off the bench at least. Like I said, this is incredible for the Clippers, and I think we're going to see that this year. And John Wall is going to shock many, many NBA fans who were sleeping on him. That is it for the video. I really appreciate you guys watching. As you guys have been watching have noticed, I've done a lot of NBA videos lately, and I'm going to keep up with that over the next few weeks. Try to kind of build off of these videos I've been making. I've made multiple NBA draft videos so far, and now I'm making this John Wall video. And be on the lookout for another few NBA draft videos later in the week, as I'm trying to post one per day for the next few weeks. But like I said, thanks a lot. And yeah, if you can, bet the Clippers to win the NBA Finals in 2022-2023 season.